My name is Mihad Chaban, and today we are talking about evolution. First, we will talk about evidence of evolution. Uh, One of the evidence of evolution is whales' ancestors. Whales' ancestors are mammals because the first whales, such as Pachycetus, were typical land animals. They had long skulls and large carnivorous teeth. From the outside, they don't look much like whales at all. However, their skulls, particularly in the ear region, which is surrounded by a bony wall, strongly resemble those of living whales and are unlike those of any other mammal. Often, seemingly minor features provide critical evidence to link animals that are highly specialized for their lifestyle, such as whales, with their less extreme looking relatives. Next, we'll talk about the theories of evolution. First, the Lamarckism, a theory of evolution that was made by Lamarck based on the principle that physical changes in organisms during lifetime. For example, Lamarck thought that giraffes had shorter necks, but because trees became taller, so their necks became taller. Second, Darwinism. It's a theory of biological evolution developed by the English naturalist Charles Darwin. He stated that all species of organisms arise and develop through the natural selection of inherited variations that increase the individual's ability to survive and reproduce. Third, the mutation theory, a theory that was made by Hugo de Vries that stated that the evolution is a jerky process where new varieties and species are formed by mutations. Third, third slide, Galapagos finches. From 1831 to 1836, Darwin traveled around the world, observing animals on different continents and islands. On the Galapagos Islands, Darwin observed several species of finches with unique beak shapes. He observed these finches closely resembled another finch species on the mainland of South America, and that the group of species in the Galapagos formed the greatest series of beak sizes and shapes, with very small differences between the most similar. Darwin imagined that the island species might be all species modified from one original mainland species. In 1860, he wrote, seeing this gradation and diversity of structure in one intimately related group of birds, one might really fancy that from an original paucity of birds in this archipelago, one species had been taken and modified for different ends. Darwin called this mechanism of change natural selection. Natural selection, Darwin argued, was an inevitable outcome of three principles that operated in nature. First, the characteristics of organisms are inherited or passed from parent to offspring. Second, more offspring are produced than are able to survive. In other words, resources for survival and reproduction are limited. The capacity for reproduction in all organisms exceeds the availability of resources to support their numbers. Thus, there is a competition for those resources in each generation. Third, offspring vary among each other in regard to their characteristics, and those variations are inherited. Out of these, out of these three principles, Darwin reasoned that offspring with inherited characteristics that allow them to best compete for limited resources will survive and have more offspring than those individuals with variations that are less able to compete. Lastly, natural selection. Natural selection is the process through which populations of living organisms adapt and change. Individuals in a population are naturally variable, meaning that they are all different in some ways. This variation means that some individuals have traits better suited to the environment than others. Individuals with adaptive traits that give them some advantage, are more likely to survive and reproduce. These individuals then pass the adaptive traits on to their offspring. Over time, these advantageous traits become more common in the population. Through this process of natural selection, favorable traits are transmitted through generations. As we see in the picture, a population of mice has moved into a new area where the rocks are very dark. Due to natural genetic variation, some mice are black while others are tan. Then the birds came and ate some of these mice. Tan mice are more visible to predatory birds than black mice. Thus, tan mice are eaten at higher frequency than black mice. Only the surviving mice reach reproductive age and leave offspring. Because black mice had a higher chance of leaving offspring than tan mice, the next generation contains a higher fraction of black mice than the previous generation. Thank you for listening.